We've reached the halfway point of 2020 real estate sales, and everyone is asking me how it compares to last year. Are we up, down? What's going on with that? Hey, this is Ron Wysakarski with the Black Hole of Real Estate. It's episode number 14, mid year report, and what's going on and how it compares to last year. So, this week we're heading into the 4th of July holiday, and a ton of uncertainty is in the air. You know, sellers are still concerned about putting their homes on the market because they're living in them and they're very nervous of allowing people to come in there, especially with some slowing down of the reopening of our markets. We've also found that buyers, well, they don't seem to have any problem going to somebody else's house right now. They're either mask on or, for some cases, maybe not even, but they should be. A lot of the homes are vacant, so maybe it's a little less of a requirement, at least in their eyes. But what I can find is that inventory is going to be a big, big story for the rest of the year. The absorption rate, and that's the supply of inventory. Going back to last year, was hovering right in the 5 months range. In other words, and right now we're sitting pretty close to about 4.4 months, if you will. So almost a whole month less of inventory available. In essence, you take the amount of homes available right now, you divide out by the average days on market, and it gives you a figure about how many months of inventory are left. Right now, days on market this time last year was at 120, and right now, believe it or not, it's 120. So not much has changed as far as days on market, and that's pretty important. The list to sell ratio staying about the same in the 93, 94% range. So it's really just inventory. Units have been down for the last couple of months. We expect a big spike to occur in July and August. It's already appears like that's happening, at least in our own business it is. And the median price is held firm. So, what does that mean? It means that, at least in my business, I took a look at the numbers and I was kind of surprised because we've been through so much this year that we almost think that, things are going to be off. And the fact is that our sales volume is up 9% and our units are up 26%. So at least in our personal business, we're way outpacing last year, despite all the disruption. And we had an amazing start to the year. So my suspicion is now that we're heading towards normal, whatever that might be right now, it's a pretty clear shot to pick up where we left off, maybe pre-COVID. So that's pretty exciting as far as being in the market and seeing buyers and sellers be successful, each of them in their own way in this market. It's fairly balanced right now, even with the inventory shortage. So, those are good things. Now, I want to give you some stories, some funny things that are happening along the way. We had several closings on June 30th, and man, everything's going crazy right now. We had sellers that were anxious to sell the property, but were not able to, get to the closing table for, getting their keys lined up and getting the things moved out of the houses. We had buyers trying to move in before the closing, and this just in: until you own the home and sign the papers, you may not want to put your stuff in the house because bad things can happen. Let's just suppose that somebody saw you put all this stuff in the house and they decided to, I don't know, rip you off. You don't have insurance on the property till you close. So if the police report shows that you had a robbery before you owned it, you may or may not have coverage on the other person's homeowner's insurance. So things can get a little dicey like that, but it's just a liability stand. You know, why would you put your things in somebody else's house? I mean, if they decide not to close, your possessions are kind of locked up in their house. So this just in: if you're getting ready to move, give yourself enough time to empty the truck after the closing. Um, you think that might be something that most people would do, and in fact, we had two instances this week alone where, hey, we thought we'd empty out the truck before we close. Like, it's just a bad idea. Uh, do it as you want. I didn't think it was a great idea. What else is going on? Surveys. This is an oddity out there. Most properties on a mortgage are going to require a survey unless the one the seller has is acceptable. And a lot of banks right now, they're making sure that all the things are even more tightened up. So we had one where the survey showed up around 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a 2 o'clock closing, and we had some delayed paperwork coming from the bank. They didn't want to send the package till they knew the survey was there. So that got a little dicey. What else would be a really good idea to do? I don't know. Maybe if you're getting a mortgage and you have to have a down payment, maybe wire the money for that down payment to the closing, before the closing, because that happened the other day, and the buyers are actually signing their paperwork at closing. And of course, they wanted their keys, but it has to be closed and funding to transfer the keys. So while they were signing, we were asking, where's your wire? Oh, I haven't signed it yet. Wires are interest. Not so much. A wire has to go from your bank through the Federal Reserve and then over to the title company. It probably is not instant. It may take anywhere from a short time, half hour to an hour. It could take 3 or 4 hours. And if you miss the cutoff, say at 4 o'clock, it may not arrive till the next day. And if you have something that's trying to close that day and it's closed and funded, that means all the money's got to be there. So you can kind of delay your own entry to your home that you feel like you bought and paid for, but the money never made it to the seller. They don't feel like the transaction is closed, and they don't have to let you in. So, some do's and don'ts out there. Let's just think it through. If you're getting a mortgage, make sure you get the survey ordered in time so that they have enough time to actually do it and deliver to the title company. Maybe send your wire. Maybe not move your things into the house before you own the house. Uh, Sounds kind of interesting. Now, we have a lot of beach properties that are what they call condo-tels. And if you've never heard of one of those things, think of a hotel room that's inside of a building, but you own it just like you'd own a condo. They're not a lot bigger, they're 300-400 square feet. They're almost always cash purchases. And I know you go online, you said you got your pre-approval. I'm here to tell you, if you're trying to buy a condo-tel, it's nearly impossible to get a loan, let alone a great rate on it without a bunch of fees. It really should just be a cash purchase. And yet, we somehow get pre-qualification letters from banks that are out of state or out of the area that, a week or a month down the road, we didn't realize that it was a condo-tel. That's entirely different. We have to pull your loan. I talked to a lender today, and they went through 2 extensions, 30-some days off the market, and they told them up front it was a condo-tel. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen that way. The realtors were involved. It was a mess. Seller was off the market. They couldn't sell the property. Buyers were all upset at their bank. They were told in the beginning, because the one lender told me the story. He actually didn't do the loan, but a family member was the realtor within the deal, and it was just a disaster. So the over-promising portion, or maybe just missing some information, if you're looking at condo-tels, have some cash ready. Now, beach properties, they're always going to be just a little bit different. And if you're buying a condo, well, think this through. They typically have an association fee that you pay every month. It'll include things like for common area grounds or maybe roof, certainly building insurance, which covers like to the walls, from the outside towards the walls. It doesn't cover the inside. There's a thing called an HO6 policy, and you probably may not be familiar with that. It's not really renter's insurance. Now, it certainly would cover some of the contents within the condo, but it's also addressing issues such as water. There could be a leak from the upstairs apartment. It's not going to be covered by the building insurance because you're responsible from the walls in. It could be your own pipes leaking down to somebody else. It could just be wind-driven rain coming through, perhaps, a window that is old, where the wind is coming at 50 miles an hour and pushing water through it in a heavy rainstorm, because it was sideways rain here in Daytona Beach the last couple of days. It could also just be that when you went out in the morning, it was 85 and sunny, and for whatever reason, you left the slider open, and all of a sudden the rain came in buckets. I mean, I'm looking out of my pool, and it's pretty much to the top. We've had several inches of rain just in the last couple of days. So your HO6 policy, depending on what it is, could have a high deductible or a limit of the coverage. I saw a policy the other day that had a $2,500 deductible where you pay the first $2,500, and the limit of the policy is $2,500 payout. I don't know any water damage that's going to be less than $5,000, because if it gets into the flooring, perhaps the drywall, leaks downstairs, you could have some trouble. And then there's the wind portion. Do you have any additional hurricane coverage? Because if the window blows in and makes that window break, if it wasn't impact glass or something, a projectile goes through it, you might make a case with the some of the building damage, but I doubt it. Who's responsible for that glass? But I do know that if that glass gets all over your couch and furniture and inside the building, that's inside the walls, you're not going to get coverage from the association insurance on that as well. So If you're buying a condo, think about an HO6 policy because that's going to cover you a lot better than the alternative of really no coverage. So, yeah, does the association have an insurance? Absolutely, but it won't cover inside your property. So, give that some thought. What am I looking at for the second half of 2020? I'm very optimistic. I think that we are in a very, very good recovery right now, and I don't know that Florida is going to roll back. Um, as much of the businesses, some of the other areas of the country, they intend to stay open. Uh, and there's a lot of interest. We're getting calls from all over the country for information about beach properties, and that's our wheelhouse. That's what we sell. There's continues to people wanting to move to the warmer weather, and if there is going to be some second wave of COVID, a lot of people want to be able to get outdoors a little bit in better weather, maybe not stuck in a snowbound situation. I grew up in a very snowy area. I had a snowplow truck as part of a business as a young guy. So there's a lot of reasons to be down in Florida. So give it a shot. Take a look at the beach properties. Find your dream. They say, why wait? Buy the beach house now. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today, because I actually did that the other day. My family and I have been waiting for years to find the right property, and we've saved and done all the right things, and we saw ourselves finally clear to grab a beach property. And I want to share with you. It's down in the Cape Canaveral area, and we had a couple-minute walk out to the beach, and we watched one of the SpaceX launches Tuesday, so just a couple days ago. So, exciting times are around. So if you are thinking, hey, is it safe to buy? I just did. So I think it's pretty safe to do it. The time that you do it is the time that is right for you. I wouldn't have any fear in this market. If there's a property that you're looking at or you're thinking of moving, I wouldn't put my plans in life on hold. There's always going to be something going on right now. And I think a lot of people feel that way. We see the activity of the market, and it's a very, very exciting time, even with the challenges we're facing right now. That's what I have for you this week. Episode 14 is now in the books. Everybody have a great 4th of July. And if you like it, give us some comments, give us some feedback, and definitely subscribe.